Deep within the lush, emerald rainforests, far from the chains and whips of plantations, a legend was born. Whispers of it traveled on the wind, carried by birdsong and the rustling leaves. These whispers spoke of defiance, of courage, of freedom. They spoke of the Maroons. The Maroons were not a mythical tribe or creatures of folklore. They were real. They were the escaped slaves who dared to challenge the shackles of oppression. In the heart of the forest, the Maroons found more than just sanctuary. They found their strength. The seeds of the Maroon legacy were sown in the blood and tears of men and women who refused to be broken. Snatched from their homelands, stripped of their identities, they were thrown into the abyss of slavery. But even in the face of such inhumanity, the human spirit refused to be extinguished. From the Caribbean islands to the depths of the Americas, the yearning for freedom beat strong. It pulsed in their veins, a rhythm of resistance passed down through generations. And so, under the cover of darkness, they escaped. They slipped through the cracks of oppression, their eyes fixed on the promise of liberation. The journey was fraught with peril, the unforgiving wilderness, the constant threat of recapture, and the psychological scars of their enslavement tested their resolve. Yet they pressed on. The journey into the heart of the wilderness was fraught with peril. Hunted by slave catchers and their vicious dogs, the escaping slaves seeking to become Maroons relied on their cunning and knowledge of the land. They moved like phantoms, their footsteps silent on the forest floor, their presence masked by the dense foliage. Deep within the impenetrable jungles and rugged mountains, they established their hidden settlements. These were not mere camps, but burgeoning communities, testaments to their unwavering spirit and will to survive. They called these clandestine havens cocodrilos, quilombos, palenques sanctuaries, where freedom echoed in the rustling leaves and the murmuring streams. The Maroons transformed the harsh wilderness into their protector, their provider, their home. They learned to navigate the intricate web of rivers and streams, to hunt and farm in the heart of the jungle, to live in harmony with the land that embraced them. Communication was crucial for the survival of the Maroon communities. Isolated deep within the wilderness, they developed ingenious methods to connect with each other and evade their pursuers. The most effective and evocative of these methods was the abeng, a musical instrument crafted from animal horns used to communicate across vast distances. The abeng's deep, resonant tones could travel for miles, carrying messages of warning, calls to gather, or simply the comforting news of safety and kinship. Each Maroon community had its unique set of rhythms and tones, understood only by its members. Beyond the abeng, the Maroons mastered other forms of covert communication. They used smoke signals to transmit messages across long distances, sending plumes of smoke billowing into the sky to signal danger or relay information. The Maroons' existence was a thorn in the side of the colonial powers. Their successful escapes and the establishment of independent communities challenged the very foundation of the slave system. The colonial authorities, threatened by this growing resistance, launched expeditions into the wilderness, determined to crush the Maroon threat and assert their dominance. These early encounters were often brutal and bloody. The colonists, armed with muskets and cannons, vastly underestimated the Maroons' knowledge of the terrain and their fierce determination to protect their hard-won freedom. The Maroons, in turn, proved to be formidable adversaries. They knew the jungle like the backs of their hands, using the terrain to their advantage, setting ambushes and disappearing into the dense undergrowth, leaving the colonists bewildered and vulnerable. Word of the Maroons' resistance spread like wildfire, inspiring others to seek refuge in the safety of their communities. Each successful escape, each act of defiance, further fueled the flames of rebellion. Despite the constant threat of attack, the Maroons refused to be cowed. The dense, unforgiving jungles became the Maroons' greatest allies. They knew every twist and turn, every hidden stream, every whispering leaf. The colonists, burdened by their heavy equipment and unfamiliar with the terrain, were easy prey for the Maroons' stealthy attacks. They were masters of guerrilla warfare, striking swiftly and silently, melting back into the undergrowth before the enemy could react. Their weapons were a mix of the familiar and the improvised. Muskets captured from previous raids, bows and arrows crafted with deadly precision, machetes honed to razor sharpness. Each weapon told a story of resourcefulness, of turning the tools of oppression into instruments of liberation. The Maroons' knowledge of herbal medicine passed down through generations was another weapon in their arsenal. They treated their wounds with poultices and concoctions made from roots, leaves and bark, their knowledge of the forest's healing properties rivaling that of any European physician. As the Maroons grew stronger and bolder in their resistance, the colonial authorities realized that brute force alone wouldn't break their spirit. A new strategy was needed, one that employed deception and manipulation alongside military might. And so they began to offer treaties, promises of peace and recognition, in exchange for laying down arms. Some Maroon communities, weary of the endless cycle of violence and tempted by the prospect of peace, agreed to these treaties. They saw it as a chance to rebuild their lives, to secure a future free from the constant threat of attack. But these treaties were often traps designed to disarm and control the Maroons, to strip them of their autonomy and reassert colonial dominance. The ink was barely dry on some of these treaties before they were broken. The struggle for freedom was a relay race, each generation passing the torch of resistance to the next. The Maroons' fight wasn't confined to a single battlefield or a specific period. It was a continuous struggle woven into the very fabric of their existence. And it was a struggle that would inspire future generations fighting for liberation across the globe. Their story is a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit, a beacon of hope illuminating the darkest corners of history. The Maroons' legacy lives on not just in the tangible remnants of their settlements and the echoes of their music that still resonate through the forests, but in the hearts and minds of those who refuse to be bowed by oppression. Their story is a call to action, a reminder that the fight for justice and equality is a marathon, not a sprint. The struggle for freedom forged leaders, men and women who rose from the ranks of the enslaved to become symbols of hope, their names whispered with reverence and fear. These were not leaders born into privilege, but individuals tempered in the fires of adversity, their courage and strategic brilliance honed on the anvil of resistance. There was Francois Macandal, a charismatic figure of Haitian Maroon legend, who escaped the plantation and united different Maroon groups with his military prowess and knowledge of African spirituality. His defiance against the French colonial powers instilled fear in the hearts of slave owners and hope in those yearning for liberation. In Jamaica, the indomitable spirit of Cudjo, a skilled strategist and leader of the Leeward Maroons, became a rallying cry for freedom. His ability to outmaneuver and outwit the British Army in the dense cockpit country terrain solidified his legendary status. They understood that the fight for freedom was not just about physical survival. It was about preserving their culture, their identity, and their dignity in the face of relentless oppression. Among the pantheon of Maroon leaders, one name shines brightly: Queen Nanny of the Jamaican Windward Maroons. A woman of immense courage, tactical brilliance, and spiritual strength, Nanny became a symbol of resistance, her name synonymous with unwavering defiance against colonial rule. Escaping slavery in the late 17th century, Nanny established herself as a leader among the Windward Maroons. She understood that to survive, the Maroons needed not just to fight, but to build a self-sufficient community. Under her guidance, Nanny Town, strategically nestled within the Blue Mountains, became a beacon of hope for escaped slaves and a thorn in the side of the British. Nanny was a master of guerrilla warfare, utilizing the treacherous terrain to her advantage, ambushing British troops and vanishing into the dense foliage. But her leadership extended beyond the battlefield. She was a skilled healer, a wise counselor, and a keeper of the Maroons' rich cultural traditions, ensuring that their African heritage thrived despite attempts to erase it. In the South American nation of Suriname, The story of the Jamaica Maroons stands as a testament to the enduring human spirit. Fleeing the brutal conditions of Dutch plantations in the 18th century, they established independent communities deep within the rainforest, their lives intertwined with the rhythms of the jungle. Led by figures like Captain Bruce and Araby, the Saramaka waged a relentless guerrilla war against the Dutch colonial forces. Their intimate knowledge of the rainforest, their mastery of riverine warfare, and their unwavering commitment to their freedom proved to be a formidable challenge to the European colonizers. The Saramaka's resistance was not merely a fight for physical liberation. It was a struggle to preserve their cultural identity. They carried with them the seeds of their African heritage, their music, dance, and spiritual practices, which they nurtured and adapted in their new home. The Maroons' journey into the heart of freedom was not just a physical escape, it was a cultural odyssey. Ripped from their ancestral lands, they carried within them the seeds of their African heritage, a rich tapestry of traditions, languages, beliefs, and art forms. In the crucible of their struggle for survival, these seeds found fertile ground, taking root and flourishing in the new world. Their villages became melting pots of cultural exchange, where African traditions merged with ingenious practices, creating vibrant new expressions of identity. They preserved the art of storytelling, their tales weaving together ancestral memories with the realities of their new lives, passing down their history and values from one generation to the next. Food became a powerful symbol of cultural continuity. They cultivated crops like rice, yams, and plantains, reminiscent of their African homelands, while incorporating indigenous plants and cooking techniques. The rhythm of freedom, music, and dance as resistance. Music and dance were lifelines to their heritage, expressions of resistance and powerful tools for communication and unity. The rhythms of Africa found new life in the drums, songs, and dances of their Maroon communities. The hypnotic beat of the drums transcended language barriers, uniting people in joy, sorrow, and resistance. The drums spoke of their history, struggles, triumphs, and hope for a future free from oppression. Songs carried the stories of their ancestors, escapes from slavery, and battles for freedom. Through music, they honored their past, celebrated their present, and passed down their legacy. Dance connected them with their ancestors, told stories, and celebrated their collective identity. Guardians of the forest, a legacy of environmental stewardship. Forced to adapt to the unforgiving embrace of the wilderness, the Maroons developed a profound understanding and respect for the natural world. The forest was not just their refuge, but their provider, their teacher, and their sacred space. They became guardians of the forest, their lives intertwined with its rhythms and cycles. They learned to navigate its intricate pathways, to identify its edible plants, to hunt its animals sustainably, and to harness its medicinal properties. Their knowledge of herbal remedies, passed down through generations, became renowned, their skills in healing sought after, even by those who had once sought to enslave them. Their villages were often built with minimal impact on the surrounding environment, their homes constructed from natural materials, blending seamlessly into the landscape. They understood that their survival depended on living in harmony with nature, on respecting the delicate balance of the ecosystem. This legacy of environmental stewardship continues to inspire. In a world grappling with the consequences of climate change and deforestation, the Maroons' traditional ecological knowledge offers valuable insights into sustainable living and the importance of protecting our planet's precious resources. An enduring legacy. The sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange, purple, and gold, a fiery spectacle mirroring the spirit of the Maroons. Generations have passed since those first courageous souls dared to escape the shackles of slavery, seeking refuge in the heart of the wilderness. The echoes of their struggle for freedom still resonate, their story woven into the very fabric of the Americas. The Maroons were pioneers of a new world, One where freedom wasn't a privilege but a right, where cultural identity wasn't erased, but celebrated, where humans lived in harmony with nature, not as conquerors. Their legacy is a living testament to the power of the human spirit to overcome adversity and forge a new destiny. Echoes of freedom, ripples of change. The Maroons' fight for liberation was a beacon of hope, inspiring abolitionist movements and resistance against colonial rule. Their legacy lives on in the ongoing fight for social justice, equality, and human rights. The pursuit of freedom is a collective responsibility, a relay race where each generation must carry the torch forward. Their story is a testament to the power of collective action and unity in the face of adversity. We must raise our voices, challenge the status quo, and fight for a world where everyone has the right to live in freedom and dignity.